before what this shirt actually says. And what it says is, let faith be bigger than your fear. Let faith be bigger than your fear. And that's actually something that I live by. I believe we should all be aware of the fact that fear is a very, very strong thing. And through fear can come the allowance of great evil to exist in this world, because everyone is so afraid. We're afraid to do something. We're afraid to say something. We're afraid to think something. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who they exploit this fear, so we have to be aware of that, man. It's, when people appeal to your sense of fear more than your sense of reason, there's a problem, okay? And it's funny because we see that theme being explored a little bit in this movie right here, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I want to talk about it because I got a chance to see it over the weekend. What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And guys, we're going to talk about this movie. And it's funny because I just did a video a couple of days ago talking about the marketing of this movie, and having seen the movie, I can now say that I was right. The marketing for this movie actually did this movie no favors whatsoever, okay? Because at the time, I was observing that when you emphasize making history as a selling point to your movie over the selling of a good story, then that can be problematic. And that's what we have here, because the movie actually was enjoyable for me, and I have to say, in the interest of full disclosure, I also said in that video that this wouldn't necessarily be your stereotypical Marvel movie, because, they want to make it a cultural phenomenon. And I'm not sure that that's not a fair assessment of what's happening here, because I have to say, I would be considered a normie in this case because I never collected the comic. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where they succeeded and where they failed in honoring that source material. All I can do is judge this movie. So I'm one of those people who are going in not really having a lot of knowledge, about this character and the history of the character. So there are people out there who do have that knowledge, who would be better suited to tell you whether this movie succeeded and failed on that level. All right, but purely as a source of entertainment, I will say that yes, I was entertained by this movie. It had an amazing, wonderful cast. Everybody brought their A game to the movie. I can't say anything about that, that takes away from that. The star of the movie, Simu Liu, and I know I'm mispronouncing it, but I'm sure I will learn how to pronounce it, because the man is a future star. You can tell. He's going to be around. He totally sells his role in this movie. He's great as an action star, but he's also great in those quiet moments. He does comedic, timing really good, so he's a talent, he's a talent, and he worked very well with his co-star Aquafina. Why is her name Aquafina? Is she named after the water? Is the water named after her? Is she supposed to be a comedian? I really don't know her from anything else, but I will say this, she also sold her role very well. Even though she's clearly there to be comedic relief, she doesn't go too far with it. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't distract from anything. And I kept expecting her to do that, but she didn't do that. So that's great. She was able to be thoughtful. She had her own destiny that she had to step up into, and she did it quite well. So she played a role, man. I mean, she was, like I said before, they were very likable as a duo. Whether they're going to be a couple or not, I don't know. But you know something? Their relationship is deeper than that, and it really works. You know what I'm saying? It's like he needs her. He needs her to be who he wants to be, because who he really is, who he was trained to be, is a problem for him. And who he was trained to be is basically a killer. He's supposed to be a killer because his father trained him that way from the time he was very, very little. Because what happens is his mom gets killed because of the sins of his father. Because his father used to be a power-mad tyrant who went around killing people all over the place, not giving a shit. And then when he fell in love with Shang-Chi's mother, he decides that he's going to be a changed man. I don't want to be a player no more. I'm not a player. I just crush a lot. So he's just doing his thing now. He wants to be a family man. He wants to get out of the game. But of course, you know how it is, the Godfather style. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. So the past comes knocking on the door of the Mandarin, okay, who is his father. He's the real Mandarin, okay? So we'll get to that later. But So they come, and of course, the father is not home. So what do? They fight the mom, who is powerful in her own right. That's the reason why the Mandarin gave up his evil ways, because she showed him a different way of being. So, like I said, he becomes a family man. He's all happy. He's raising his son and his daughter with his wife, and they're all happy. But then the past comes a knocking. So the mom, although she takes out a lot of dudes with her, she ends up getting killed. She's murdered. And of course, when the father comes back and realizes what's happened, he's like, well, if I hadn't changed my ways, if I hadn't gotten soft, this never would have happened. So he decides he's going to wreak terror on everybody, So he goes and trains Shang-Chi to be an assassin as well, a murderer, a cold-hearted killer. So Shang-Chi does what his father has trained him to do, which is basically trains to become a killer, and he takes out vengeance on the man who killed his mother. But then he's mortified by what he's done, so he runs away, leaving his young sister in the care of the father, who refuses to really interact with her and acknowledge her and love her because he's heartbroken, and every time he looks at his daughter, he thinks about his dead wife. So basically the father is wounded, like deeply, deeply wounded, and he's twisted in his hatred and his rage. So Shang-Chi goes to America and meets up with the character Katie, who's played by Aquafina. They become like ballet dancers, they become valet, attendants. So they're leading their life, doing karaoke, not being really responsible with their lives. He's basically running. They're basically both running from adulthood. Until once again destiny comes knocking. They get into a fight on a bus because this clan has noticed that Shang-Chi is wearing the pendant that the mom gave him. She gifted this to him, and it turns out that's one of two. The other one the sister has, and the two of them kind of like, when you put them together, they lead the way to the mother's hidden land of her people. All right. So that comes into play later because the father needs to find this because he feels like the mother is still alive and being held against her will by her people who never wanted the two of them to be together in the first place. All right. So, the action is great, especially in the beginning. And I have to say, they owe a lot. Like, you can see the mashups of things here. So, like I said, once again, the marketing didn't do this any favors because, this is really kind of a sum total of its influences here. I mean, you could definitely see Jackie Chan in that fight on the side of the building. That's all Jackie Chan, man. And then, I had mentioned Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in the last one that I did. And you can see the influences of that too, the way that it all comes together. And you can even see a reference to Speed in there if you look for it. You know what I mean? Like when they're on the bus and stuff like that, it kind of reminded me of that. So it moves along really, really well. Like I said, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of introspection. Some people might feel like that's that quiet moment. It's a lull, but it's necessary to me. It didn't bother me when they told the story of the relationship and the dynamic between him and his father and his sister. To me, it gave weight to those characters, so it couldn't just be wall-to-wall action. You had to know why it was going on. So you saw that, and you understood that, and the messed up thing about it is that once they realize like what's going on and they realize and figure out how to get to the lost land of where their mother comes from, they have cast the father in the role of the bad guy. Like, at one point, Shang-Chi has decided that he's got to kill his father, and there's this resentment that he and his sister have towards the father. Like he's just a terrible person, and he has been a terrible person. But once they realize that he's being manipulated, now I mean the father is being manipulated. I don't understand why we have that moment. And it doesn't really last long in the movie where they just decide that he has to die. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, to me, if they had gone the way of like a Luke Skywalker and said, we know there's good in him, that would have been different. But I guess, this is its own story. So that's what they have going on. They decide that they're going to kill the father for a brief moment, but like I said, they had already acknowledged that the father is being manipulated, and he's heartbroken because he really does believe that his wife is calling out to him, because we see that's the way that the evil that's hiding in the land of the mother. I know I'm not explaining this right, but the lost land of the mother, they have an evil that's stuck inside of behind some barrier. and they keep that evil behind that barrier, you know. But the evil behind the barrier can reach out and manipulate other people, you know, through their grief or insecurity or whatever. So they figured out that Shang-Chi's father, who has the all-powerful 10 rings, is powerful enough to bust the evil out of where it's at. And you know what's interesting about that is that maybe it's just me, but I couldn't help but think about that last episode of What If with Doctor Strange. Is there a tie-in here that I'm missing? Because there's a lot of parallels here, you know, and it's interesting the release of that episode versus the release of this movie. And you know, Marvel, they've been known to intertwine storylines and stuff like that, but that evil behind that mountain kind of reminded me a lot of what the What If Doctor Strange was or was becoming, you know, in that episode, and how he ended up trapped, and how it absorbs the awesome power that's around it or him, you know. So I don't know, guys. I guess it remains to be seen. Plus, Wong is in this, you know, from Doctor Strange as well, you know. And it's funny because Wong is played by a guy named Wong, and Wong looks like a guy that I work with named Wong. I'm starting to think that Wong is not a name but a description at this point. You know what I'm saying? So Wong is there, and there is, you know, kind of like a you know, a tie-in, as you see in one of the 2 post-credit scenes at the end. All right, so like I said, I know that, you know, I'm getting all crazy with this, but like I said, that's the one part of the movie that kind of messed with me, when they decided that the father is just evil and he has to die, when you clearly know that he had reformed himself. The only reason why he's doing this is because he's heartbroken about, you know, the death of his wife, basically because of him and his reputation. Even his daughter, you know, if you want to say that, you know, there's a also a feminist thing going on here, because the daughter was overlooked. The daughter wasn't overlooked because she was a girl. She was overlooked because she reminds the father of the mother. He gets heartbroken just looking at her, you know. So it's a very tragic story in that situation, you know. The father, the Mandarin, he's a sympathetic character. You know, he really, really is. He might be the most tragic character in this movie, you know. So, plus he's imprisoned the faker Mandarin from the Iron Man movie, you know, and that's pretty cool. You see him there because he figured out that, you know, he found him, you know. He's like, you're impersonating me. And, you know, now he's basically become a court jester, you know. So Ben Kingsley is there, you know. He does a pretty good job too. Like I said, all of the people in this film are enjoyable, you know. And I have to say that when the movie was over, it got an applause twice. It got an applause at the first ending. It got an applause at the third ending, or the second ending, you know, with the daughter. For some reason, people clapped at that. So, you know, a lot of people did enjoy it from what I could tell. My movie theater wasn't sold out, but I had to be in that movie theater because the first movie theater that I wanted to go to, the one that's nearest me, was sold out. All of the times was sold out. So I don't know what kind of business this movie is going to do. Doesn't really concern me. All that matters is, did I enjoy it? And I did, you know. So I don't know, guys. I mean, that's basically my feelings on this movie. It was fulfilling to me. It was good as something of a normie. Like I said, if you are actually familiar with the story, you can get in the comment section and tell me the many ways that this movie might have succeeded or failed. But for my money, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings, I will give one flush. Okay, now you guys know my system of rating here. You can get 0 to 4 flushes, okay? And if it's really bad, it's 4 flushes and a plunger, okay? That means it's totally full of shit. But there was a little bit of shit in here. Like I said, I didn't really agree with that character direction. It lasted very briefly, where they decided they were just going to hate the father and he just had to die, even though, like, in the next scene or so, they were like, Dad, you're being manipulated. So I don't understand what that was put there for. Maybe it was just a dramatic, you know, thing that they do. But yeah. Anyway, like I said, the movie was good. I look forward to seeing how it fits into the greater Marvel lore. You know, one of the post-credit scenes involved Captain Marvel and Dr. Banner. Okay, you know, it was very brief. It was what it was, you know, but you can tell they have bigger plans for this, and it is interesting. So, guys, did you see the movie? Did you watch it over the weekend? Like I said, sound off in the comment section. Let me know how you felt about this. And do you see that tie-in, or is it just me, with that Doctor Strange? By the way, that Doctor Strange What If was probably, no, without a doubt, the best what if they've done. That was what if for me. That was what I was waiting for. Something that was really dramatic, it was tragic, and it has lasting ramifications. So that was a worthy what if, and it did answer the question. But anyway, get in the comment section. Let me know how you felt about this. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Catch me on Twitter. If not, then I will see you on the next one. And guys, look out for my channel Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday. It will be the Dark Council, hosted by me, featuring Drunk 3PO, Abu Nas, Fatal J, Lord Callus, and Damajanai. We are coming to kick ass, so check us out Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.